Person in Person is brought to you by the Perineum Group, the only truly centrist news organization.
That's right, Greg. We're in the sweet spot between partisan extremes. When tain't the left and tain't the right.
It's Perineum.
Tonight on Person in Person. Can you suggest a good pairing for sewage wine?
Is your baby full of plastic? The answer may surprise you. It's yes.
Seal 3PO?
Denk, dich, fliegen.
I once caught a hand grenade this big.
Talk about a Suckerpunch.
All these stories plus weather, sports, food crime, and a Bleak End update. That's tonight
on Person in Person.
Good evening, wherever you are, whoever you are, and welcome to Person in Person. I'm Gene Person.
And I'm Greg Person.
No relation. Person in Person is a news show for people who don't like news shows, by people who don't like news shows. No lofty aspiration to journalistic integrity here. We pick and choose the stories we talk about. It's funnier that way.
That's right, Gene. Just like Jerry Maguire, we show you the funny.
Awful.
You knew I was going to do that one. Well, no, you couldn't possibly have known I was going to do that one day.
I had no idea. How could I have predicted something that terrible would enter anyone's mind?
I don't know. You ever been in a social situation where you're like, well, I have to say something, and then you say something and you're like, anything but that?
So actually, I feel like in social situations, I don't feel a compulsion to say anything really unless someone says something incorrect. And then I have the strongest compulsion in the world to correct them.
I know this about you, and actually it's one of my favorite things because I want to correct people too, but I feel like I can't. So to have you there and do it for me is really good.
I have no filter for it whatsoever. It's really popular with the ladies. All right, folks, it's main news. The investigators in Alabama have uncovered a large illegal winery operating out of a wastewater treatment plant. Sheriffs received an anonymous tip and found a large amount of illegal alcohol and winemaking equipment. It appeared to be in operation for a long period of time. They announced it was one of the biggest such operations they've ever uncovered. Charges will be filed. So, of course, this is happening in Alabama, the state whose only real claim to fame is a Lynyrd Skynyrd song and a Reese Witherspoon movie named after the Lynyrd Skynyrd song.
Well, and Forrest Gump.
Oh, sure. I forgot about Forrest Gump. No indication that wastewater was in fact used in the making of the wine, so more likely just a convenient location without a lot of monitoring. Which, okay, but shouldn't there be monitoring in a process that turns like raw sewage into drinking water?
It seems to me like the guy who should be monitoring the wastewater was monitoring his wine instead.
Well, maybe that's the case. I don't know. Maybe this is the guilty party. The sheriff said it doesn't matter who you are, no one is above the law, which is pretty funny considering the way that Alabama votes. Not to mention their rich state history of naming buildings after war criminals.
Now, I have a theory about this wine production, though.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I think what they're doing here is they're making traditional prison-style turlet wine. But, if you're going to do it at scale, you can't just do it in one toilet tank. You've got to go to the wastewater treatment plant, which is basically just a giant toilet tank.
So that's what they're doing. They're making some stinking hooch.
They're using the traditional methods to make the finest Pruno. But in all seriousness, though, if you're going to start moonshining, you've got to make the actual moonshine because you get the most bang for your buck, which is the point. If you're going to make an illegal drug, which wine normally isn't, but in this case it was, you have to make it as strong as you can because your profit margin is higher, and that's what makes it worth it. So, breaking the law to make wine is like importing a bunch of coca leaves to make tea. It just doesn't make any damn sense.
Right. Well, I'm not going to whine about it.
That's a pretty cheesy joke.
Now, that sounds like sour grapes to me.
Oh, that's good. You win. You win this one. This round of pun ping pong.
Pun pong?
Pun pong.
Is that a sport?
I mean, that might be a thing.
That should be a sport.
It could very well be.
Yeah.
We'll look into that, folks, and we will get back to you. But for now, I have some bad news about your babies. There was a study recently where they found that microplastic particles have been revealed in the placentas of unborn babies, which scientists are calling a matter of great concern. Yeah, no shit. Because they don't know what the health impact of the microplastics in the body are, but they say that they could carry chemicals that cause long-term damage to the fetus or upset its developing immune system. So that's like, there has been a rapid increase in autoimmune diseases in recent years. And also the frogs are turning gay. No word if those are related. But the thing is, the particles were just consumed and breathed in by the mothers passively. It's something that has definitely happened to you, and probably from the time you were a baby. So whatever it's doing, it's already been doing it.
So maybe this explains why kids today look more like Bratz dolls than people.
Yeah, that and marketing the other poison we give to our babies every day.
Life in plastic. It's fantastic.
I was wondering if there would ever come a day when you would be able to get an Aqua reference on the show, and you finally done it.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I honestly love Aqua. It's good music to groove to. It's got a good, fast beat.
Yeah, I have a really big soft spot in my heart for pretty much all Eurodance music. It often makes up the soundtrack to my my house cleaning endeavors.
Yeah, that up tempo keeps your energy up. Yeah. I totally get it. But in more downer news, there was a separate study recently that showed that when rats inhale the microparticles of plastic, they dissected the rat fetuses, which is something that they didn't feel comfortable doing with the human fetuses.
Sure.
And they discovered that the plastics got in their brains, hearts, lungs, kidneys, basically all over. And they don't know what it means exactly, what it will do to have plastic in your brain, but they did say that it's probably not the best.
Yeah, I would imagine that's not great. Unless you're trying to become one with the nesting consciousness.
See, and I know what that is because we actually talked about it the other day. So that's a great deep cut Doctor Who reference that I fully got right away and appreciate.
Thank you, Greg.
Now, the thing about the plastics in your brain and your children's brain, what can be done about it now? Probably nothing. There's not a way to get less plastic in you. If you use less plastic, there will probably be less going in the future. But good luck. It's, we should all be using less plastic, but it's honestly really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it's in everything. It's in the air. It's you can't eat fish without consuming some plastic. You probably can't eat, vegetables without consuming some plastic. I certainly can't because my son's fridge is full of plastic vegetables.
Are you talking about a toy fridge full of plastic vegetables?
That's what I'm talking about, Greg.
Oh. See, I thought those were decorative.
Well, I mean, they weren't labeled not for human consumption, so what's a hungry guy to do?
Fair. Exactly. Caveat emptor, or, something along those lines.
Fridge door. Apparently, seals in Antarctica were recently studied. Specifically, the noises they make were studied. Apparently, above ground, they sound like Wookiees, and in the water, like droids. Chirping, whistling, laser noises, etc. are all the sounds that you expect from Star Wars and also from underwater seals. Except we'd never know it if this study didn't happen because all the sounds are actually inaudible to humans, beyond the hearing range of cats and dogs as well. So some theorize that the noise may be involved in echolocation, but there is no evidence to support that assertion so far. It might explain why seals are so good at hide and seek.
Now, I have a question for you. Because we say that these noises are like this, but then we say that they're beyond the range of our hearing. So how do we know that that's what those noises are like?
I'm assuming they take the sounds and either slow them down or speed them up so that they enter an audible frequency.
See, that seems like cheating, because that's kind of like saying, oh, this color is blue if I change the hue and the tint and the brightness of it.
Well, I mean, I guess we've got to perceive these things somehow. There's a reason why dog whistles work.
It's an epistemological riddle, though, isn't it?
I mean, sure. I'm curious what the sequence of noises is to express common phrases like, I've got a bad feeling about this, or McClunky. So a radical theory is emerging that George Lucas is secretly a seal, and that the Star Wars movies were an allegory on the plight of the seal. However unlikely this may be, I can't deny that George Lucas kinda looks like a seal.
I was going to say, like, when you look at those bull elephant seals, where they don't do anything anymore, they just lay around and the whole pod kind of revolves around them. That's very George Lucas.
No word from these scientists as to whether the seals in these environments are asking for a kiss from a rose on a grave.
That is one of the best nonsense songs ever written.
It really is.
There's no joke here. I just fucking love that song. I could sing every word of it to you now.
Yeah, it's a good song.
And if you pick it apart, though, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It's like a Red Hot Chili Peppers song. So, do you remember the Balloon Boy? This was maybe about like 10 years ago.
I do. He always reminded me of the stinger at the end of Brain Candy.
Yeah, right. Whistle when you're low. I remember that. That was a different Balloon Boy, but yeah. So, for those of you who don't remember, if you were too young or it slipped off your brain, about 10 years ago, there was a couple who told the news media that their son had flown away on a balloon, but it turns out he had been hiding in the attic, and it had all been a scam to promote a reality show that they wanted to try and sell. And he's the one who blew up their spot on national TV by coming out and telling the news anchors, oh no, I was hiding upstairs, it was for the show. And it was pretty great to watch the whole thing unfold in real time. Those people who did get busted for fraud and for filing false reports, and they've already served their time and paid their fines, but they were pardoned this week by the governor of Colorado. So officially, they have no longer committed those crimes.
Wow. Okay.
Or rather, the actual effect of a pardon is that you say you did commit those crimes, but you're no longer culpable for them. You've been absolved of the guilt from those actions.
Oh, right. I remember this from Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Right. Yeah, where he didn't know that, which was also very fun.
It was really amusing to watch his reaction to finding out that he had to actually confess to his guilt in order to accept the pardon.
Well, the good news for these people is that they are finally free of this burden that's been hanging over their head like I don't know, I can't think of a good simile, but it's been hanging over their head.
Like a beehive.
Yeah, for example, which you really wouldn't want hanging over your head. So that is a perfect simile.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is with this story is that we never did get to hear what their reality show was that they wanted to do. I bet it probably had something to do with the balloon, but I can't imagine what. Did you ever hear anything about what the reality show was that they wanted to do? What they were trying to pitch with this fake story?
I didn't, but I would, oh my God, to be a fly on the wall in those pitch sessions.
Yeah, because I looked for it as I was preparing for this story, and I couldn't find any more details. So it probably had something to do with the balloon. Like, would they, as a family, travel around in the balloon from place to place?
Or maybe some kind of prank show, since it was all a big hoax. Speaking of which, I love a good hoax.
Me too. Hoaxes, it's people trying to amuse themselves by putting some mystery back into the world.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hoaxes, there's just not enough there to keep my interest, like the monolith thing I never really cared about.
Yeah.
But this one was a good one.
You know what's the greatest hoax, I think? Trickle-down economics.
Yeah, no question. It's like, just give us all the money and we'll give you back some of it eventually. Like, and people fell for that because a guy explained it to them and he had a bow tie and he had a graph. But if this story teaches us one thing, though, it's that never involve kids in your lie, because they will blow up your spot. They will blow it up like a shit. I can't.
Ball sack.
There you go. Thank you. I was struggling, and you nailed it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So what's next?
All right. The next story, Che Williams was out fishing in the UK using a magnet device, trying to recover a fishing lure that he had lost, when he caught a grenade, and then another, and then another. He fished up 19 hand grenades in total. Bomb squads were called in when they realized the pins were still in place. However, no explosives were found once the grenades were X-rayed. Williams was disappointed he didn't get to keep his catch, as they had to be destroyed, but do we really want to know what kind of weird monster those things hatch into when they're sitting on your mantle in 2020?
That's some kind of a Pokemon, though, right? It's gotta be.
Yeah, maybe. Another question, Greg. Magnets. How the fuck do they work?
Well, you know what's funny is when the whole ICP thing with the magnets was a big meme, there actually was a video that started circulating of somebody from years before trying to get Richard Feynman to explain how magnets work to them.
Uh-huh.
And he was basically like, listen, I can't do it because I can't relate it to anything that you're familiar with that would be accurate. I mean, they operate by physical principles that you just haven't learned about.
Right. I remember when that song dropped, and, you know, the whole message was don't trust a scientist. They can't explain things like rainbows. It's like, dude, I can make a rainbow right now. Go fetch me a garden hose.
Go fetch me a hose is something that I would say to ICP anytime, because they would bring me the hose and I would beat them with the hose.
My final point here, if we've got mortars in our flower beds and grenades in our rivers, where can we go that's actually safe?
Man, I haven't gone anywhere since like mid-March, so don't ask me. I don't even know what's out
that's
there.
A fair point. There's also COVID lurking out there. Man, it is a bizarre time to be alive.
Yeah, it's stay out, stay indoors. There's armaments, there's munitions, there's diseases. I mean, you know, a guy just blew up downtown. What was the town in Tennessee?
It was Nashville.
Yeah, so terrorism and random mass shootings and stochastic public violence have come back into vogue, which I knew they would. As soon as we had a vaccine, people would start bombing and shooting again, and I was not I was not disappointed, although I was very sad. Anyhow, on a happier note, octopuses, specifically big blue octopuses, also known as day octopuses, have been discovered to rope fish into helping them hunt. But when they're mad at the fish, they will punch them in the head, just for spite.
I love that spite exists in the octopus kingdom.
Oh yeah, you know, the knowledge that octopuses are dicks has made me feel closer to them than I ever have. Because they seem so alien, and you're like, what do they think about? How do they feel about things? And then you see them do something just to be shitty, and you're like, oh no, I understand you.
Well, because I've seen videos of them doing amazing things. They're incredibly smart. I've seen an octopus eating a shark. I've seen an octopus escaping an aquarium through a grate in the floor. But I like the idea that there's also, you know, a sense of entitlement amongst octopuses.
Yeah, they're like, fuck you, you stupid fish. Bang. Because the fish is their employee at that point.
Right.
And that made me think about, is it like one of those Flintstone animals? Does the fish just turn and look at the camera and he's like, it's a living?
That is a really fun image, and I appreciate you for sharing that.
Well, I unironically love the Flintstones. I think it's a great show, and I think we should find ways to work it into more shit. But
sure, why not? So these are day octopuses. Are they the fighters of the night octopuses?
I don't know. I mean, presumably it is a different class of octopus at night. Like maybe the night octopus is the defender of the downtrodden fish. You know, maybe.
Well, one thing's for sure: the night octopus is not a champion of karate and friendship for everyone.
Going back to our octopus story, though, the thing is we know that octopuses are smarter than fish. So this is basically like when man domesticated the dog, right? We found a dumber animal that we could work with, and we're like, you go get this thing for me. We're hunting now. So the octopus has domesticated the fish. That's very cool. So they're, we always thought that they would be building their own civilization, and they're well on their way, it sounds like. They're probably not going to invent fire until pretty late in the game, though.
Right. They have a serious disadvantage in that regard.
Because that'll be like high energy physics for them. Like, they'll invent fire at the same point in their development where we invented like fermionic condensate.
Right. I, for one, welcome our new octopus overlords. Have you checked out personandpersonshow.com yet?
We have a website now
where you can stream full episodes of the show.
Visit today, personandpersonshow.com.
That's personandpersonshow.com.
The only news website by persons for persons. I mean, they couldn't do any worse.
Our first bonus story tonight. What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken? KFC announced months ago that they were going to be coming out with a gaming console called the KF Console. It was said to sport not just quality gaming, but a chicken warming chamber. This was all dismissed as a publicity stunt/joke, but the company partnered with Cooler Master to actually build the damn thing. So the console is shaped like a bucket of chicken, but I'm not kidding. It looks pretty sleek and stylish. It honestly looks much better than either the PS5 or the Xbox Series X.
So it doesn't look like a dehumidifier or any of that shit?
No. They call it the KF console, but it's actually more of a KF PC. Still, it's said to be able to run, quote, the latest titles in stunning 4K, 240 FPS, while keeping your chicken warm. I don't know that this is an Ian Malcolm situation, but if they also figured out a way to make it purify air, it might be a bridge too far.
See, I think this is the opposite of an Ian Malcolm situation, because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think they figured out that they could, and they were like, fuck it, let's go for it, and it was awesome, and nobody had any problems.
Right.
Well, if there's one thing that's missing from a lot of my leisure activities, it's fried chicken.
Oh, no, I mean, no argument here. The 11 herbs and spices of the KF console are salt, pepper, and the remaining 9 are silicone.
I mean, fair enough, you got to have something to run all those games on, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, when they sell it, does it come with chicken?
I don't think it comes with chicken, but it might come with some kind of coupon code or something. There's no announcement of a price point or anything like that yet.
Well, all I'm saying is, when I go to the KFC to pick this thing up, they're going to put some chicken in it before I go, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
I already have a video game machine. I need a video game chicken machine. Now, for my bonus story, I want to follow up on Yuri Tolochko, the wrestler, the bodybuilder, who was married to a sex doll named Margot.
Yes,
Well, she's away from home for the holidays. She's getting repaired after getting broken. Give you one guess as to how she got broken.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's apparently not fit for duty right now, getting fixed up. Hopefully she'll be back home before the new year, and hopefully Yuri's easier on his hand than he was on his wife while she's away.
Yeah, Yuri, be easy on Margot. She may be a sex doll, but you put a ring on it. You got to put her first.
Yeah, man. I mean, we don't necessarily have... You did yourself an injury this weekend. No, we don't have to get into that.
No.
But just Yuri, go a little easier, buddy.
Yeah. Gentle. Be gentle.
But I guess that is like the main appeal of having a fake wife, right? Is that you can just
go to town,
do what you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, which is where his whole thing of like the fantasy of having a wife kind of breaks apart.
I don't know. Have you seen these sex dolls? They're like, I remember reading an article about them probably 10 years ago. And at that time they were $5,000 a piece. So, I mean, that's an investment. You want to take care of that.
I mean, you could buy a mid-price car for that and just fuck the car.
Right.
Which, as we all know, I would do.
All right. I think that's enough for our stories. It's on to the emotional weather. This week, the emotional weather is broken down into 3 categories: inspired, tired, and wired. Would you like to kick this off, Greg?
Yeah, I want to tell you about a story that inspired me because it was an elegant solution to a problem. Now, you might know that one of the big drawbacks of wind power is that little birds, those sweet, simple guys, they fly into the propellers because they can't see them when they're in motion. But it turns out the solution is quite simple. There was a 9-year study in Norway, and they found that if you paint one of the blades on the windmill black, it reduces the motion blur. It makes it more visible so they can see it. So they steer out of the way. It's reduced bird fatalities by 70%.
Wow.
So I don't know why this took 9 years to figure out, but I'm glad they did it anyway.
I think Estonian wizards might have had something to do with it.
Yes, they control the winds and the birds because the birds need the winds.
My story for Inspired this week is Veronica Lopez, a 15-year-old author and philanthropist who also happens to be dyslexic, created a book box at her local middle school so kids can share and pick up books. She also wrote a book for kids K-2 who have trouble reading about a cat trying to get to the moon. What's more, the book is written in both English and Spanish to help kids who are ESL. This young woman is amazing. She's everything that's right in the world. I'm proud of her. I'm so happy for her, and I'm so grateful for her example.
Oh, that's nice.
What's your pick for Tired this week?
Okay, so everybody's griping about this on the internet. I'm not going to add to it too much, but WW84, Wonder Woman 84, the latest film offering from the CIA, it's 2 hours and 35 minutes long.
Ooh.
And I can't stand to watch movies that long anymore. I mean, The Godfather is longer than that, but it's The Godfather.
Right.
You've got to give me a Godfather or an Apocalypse Now if you're going to stretch it out that long. You know, back in the day, in the golden age of cinema, which is to say when I was a kid and movies were still worth watching, you know, filmmakers all over the world found a way to tell a story in 90 minutes. You could watch a movie and it would just be one of many activities in a day. You didn't have to devote an entire day to a single movie. You could watch a movie and then go eat or sleep or, you know, anything else. So, too long.
Yeah.
Cut it down.
I mean, I agree. I think that it's interesting that filmmakers have found a way to trick audiences into watching 10-hour movies, because that's basically what TV is anymore.
True.
That said, in 1 hour chunks, it all becomes a little more palatable. I haven't seen this movie. Have you seen it, Greg?
Honestly, I have no interest.
Okay, so that does it. Next week, we're going to do a double blind out of frame.
Yes, we can absolutely do that because I know almost nothing about this movie except how long it is.
Great. My pick for Tired goes to Kayla Romero, 27, of Houston, Texas, who says her bust has been growing since she was 12 and has shown no signs of slowing. She is now wearing a bra size 34O. She's not been able to find a size P. The poor woman suffers incredible back pain, endured mockery from classmates and people she knows, and no doubt some share of uncomfortable situations and interactions with the opposite sex. It has to be exhausting for her, and I've decided not to make light of it. This woman deserves some recognition for her struggles, and she certainly qualifies for this emotion. Kayla, who is trying to raise money for reduction surgery, I just want to say I hope you get the relief you need. I'm going to include the donation link in our show notes. If you are able, please donate to her GoFundMe.
Yeah, I actually, as you were talking, I was thinking like, oh, we should put the link in the show notes because I want to kick this lady some dollars. I can't imagine what she's going through because I am a pleasing A cup, very easy to maintain, but I hope we can get her some help. I'm sure
we'll be able to at least kick a couple dollars down that way. How about your story for Wired?
Well, astronomers have discovered a new Earth-like planet. It's 185 light years away, and they've called it Pi Earth because it rotates once every 3.14 Earth days.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah, and it does have an estimated surface temperature of 368 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's too hot for humans, but it might be good enough for Elon Musk.
Classic. So Pi Earth, that sounds like a planet made of pie, which Earth already is if you count mud pies.
Oh, dip. Is the whole Earth just a big mud pie?
I mean, I like to think so.
Food for thought.
It's pretty good. my Wired story this week in Tokyo, Kenichi Omura, a 52-year-old man and director of the popular fashion brand Supreme, was found to be in possession of stimulant drugs, 1.1 grams of stimulants. Omura claimed the drugs were for his own use. I'm not surprised by this news. You'd have to be on something to charge 16 grand for a pair of sneakers.
Or speakers. I mean, it's too much for either thing.
It really is. All right, that's it for the emotional weather. As you know, every week our investigative team presents a detailed and harrowing story on food crime. This week, Greg Person has the story.
Guys, this is a food crime that we're all familiar with. It's candied yams, and I wanted to talk about it in the holidays because it comes around every year, turns up like a bad penny. I love a sweet potato more than anything, but goddamn do I hate a so-called candied yam.
Super gross. It's practically a dessert.
It is a dessert, and it's not a good dessert because it's too goddamn sweet to even be a dessert.
Right.
First of all, as we know, they're not yams, they're sweet potatoes. I will somehow teach the world the difference between a yam and a sweet potato if I have to spend my whole life on it.
And you probably will.
Yeah, I probably will. I mean, about half of the produce managers that I've ever seen get it wrong, which means they're just guessing.
Yeah.
Oh, and the thing is, you're adding cinnamon, you're adding butter, you're adding honey, you're adding marshmallow. Do you even want that? Does anybody actually want that? No, it's disgusting and everybody hates it. So if you want to
hang on a sec.
Gesundheit.
I'm sorry, I could feel my throat going super dry there.
Yeah, just the thought of eating a candied yam made you want to retch. I get that feeling too.
Yeah. Let's blame it on the yams.
But if you want to cook a sweet potato, please do. They're delicious. But just a little bit of butter and salt is all you need because they're already sweet. You can tell because it's in the name.
And then they don't end up with a texture between like steamed mulch and the stuff they use for dental impressions.
Absolutely filthy. God damn it, I hate candied yams.
All right, our new segment this week is Bleak End Update, in which we will outline different scenarios that could spell the end of the world. This week, the Yellowstone supervolcano. So some facts. The Yellowstone caldera is located in the northwest of Wyoming, forming during the last of 3 super eruptions in the past 2.1 million years. Starting in 2008 and early into 2009, over 500 earthquakes were detected, up to 3.9 in magnitude in the complex. Another quake storm hit in 2010, 1,620 of them in less than a month.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I'm not a geologist, but it seems like a big number.
Yeah, it's pretty darn scary. The last eruption, about 640,000 years ago, spewed 240 cubic miles of rock dust and ash into the atmosphere. The plateau, the surface of the caldera, has been rising as quickly as half an inch a year. Shows that pressure is building in the magma chamber. Here's the thing, it could go at any time. And the volume of material we're talking about is enough to induce another ice age. In proximity, no one's sure exactly how close, but it could potentially wipe out hundreds of thousands of lives fairly quickly, those on the outside left to suffer in the long term. Currently, NASA is working on solutions to try to keep the supervolcano from erupting, potentially by introducing water at high pressure, and that it could also be a source of geothermal energy. But here's the thing. Just about anything we do can have serious, unforeseen consequences. So, Happy New Year, everyone.
Good luck.
And we managed to make it through that without a single joke about a picnic basket.
Oh, you know what? We can cut in some picnic basket jokes later. Hey, boo-boo?
No, that's fine. On to sports.
So tell us about this week's sport, Gene.
So this week's sport is ferret legging. Akin to shin kicking, this is an English sport, because of course it is. A person's trousers are tied at the ankles, 2 ferrets are placed in their pants, and then their belts are tightened. The goal? To be the last one standing. The ferrets are, of course, alive and cannot be sedated. Neither can competitors be drunk or drugged. They're also not allowed to wear underwear. All ferrets must have a full set of teeth that cannot be blunted or filed. There's really not a lot of skill required. It's really more about pain endurance. It's akin to shin kicking with added cruelty of tormenting rodents. By virtue of participating, competitors deserve whatever fucking damage they suffer. But the ferrets didn't sign up for this, so pretty much fuck off everyone involved.
You're basically forcing a rat to bite you on the dick. You're disgusting, England. We hate you.
There are world record holders, and there are actually Americans who participate in this as well, but I'm not going to get into too much detail because I don't think any of these people deserve any recognition or positive reinforcement. So I guess I'm ending this with thanks, England, for yet another of your demi-sports.
They really are the candied yams of countries, aren't they?
They really are. Coming soon, the next bonus chapter of the Person-in-Person saga is the chapter where it all began.
The chapter from before we knew there were going to be chapters, so we didn't start there.
Person-in-Person, Origins.
The beginning.
Genesis.
In theaters, never, because it's a podcast, and also there are no theaters anymore.
Our final segment tonight, as every week, is Person to Person and Person, where we share your valuable feedback with our audience. This week, we have another email, which reads, Dear Persons, how are you? I am fine. Congratulations on getting over 220 downloads in 10 episodes. How does it feel to be in the double digits? I bet it feels good. Anyway, bye, Little G Person.
Oh, that's very sweet. You know, he's very precocious.
He's a wonderful writer, that Little G Person. Super polite, too. Every single letter he writes, he opens with asking us how we're doing. Folks, that's all the show we have for you tonight. We invite you to participate in Person to Person and Person, and there's so many ways for you to get yourself heard. Send us an email, personandpersonshow@gmail.com. Drop us a voicemail, 541-249-5933. Find us at Twitter, @AnchorPersons, and on Facebook, @Person&Person Show. Our website is personandpersonshow.com. We're a little slow on the updates for the next couple of weeks because of the holidays, but be sure to keep checking back. We will be updating with regular content. Until next time, this is Gene Person saying, you should always end a comedy set with a callback.
And this is Greg Person saying, good luck inventing fire. Good night.
This is normally the part of the show where I do a little stinger, a little funny, just at the very end of the closing music, just for fun. But this week I'm having trouble coming up with something, so I'm just gonna kick back and look at pictures of termite mounds. Didn't even enjoy that.